Joining me now, my friend Jack Posobiec. Probably doesn't need any intro since his podcast is destroying everybody right now. It is Human Events Daily. I highly recommend checking it out as on Apple Podcasts. I'm a national divorce guy. I want one. I'm not naive. I don't think it's actually going to happen in the way I want it to happen, where we all sit down as adults and agree that we hate each other's guts, and we're just going to divide up the assets and liabilities and call it a day. You're not a national divorce guy? Why?
So I'm not a national divorce guy, partially because, I do think that's something, if you look back at U.S. history, it's kind of asked and answered that it's not happening. And when it has been tried in the past, obviously it has not gone very well. If you're a member of any of the southern states, you know why. However, I could see something along the lines of a national separation happening, where it's basically like, we're sleeping in 2 bedrooms, we're dating other people, we kind of get it, but we're still under the same roof. I think that's more likely than a full-on divorce, quite frankly, because you don't have adults in charge anywhere in this country. So nobody is going to, if you look at the way we've handled COVID, if you look at the way that we handled the George Floyd, the protests, the riots, Antifa, et cetera, we don't respond to anything like adults. Afghanistan, we respond like children. We're immature. We can't handle those type of conversations because we do everything super emotionally. So I don't think you're going to see something where people could sit down amicably and say, look, we need a division of assets. You guys can get San Francisco. You built it. You destroyed it. It's yours. Not going to happen.
Okay, I don't necessarily disagree. I see us already separating, you can tell, because New York and California are losing congressional seats as people flee for red areas. And I can see that. My problem is, Jack, the federal government. They don't look like they have any intention of leaving red areas, red people alone at this point in time. In fact, they're getting awfully aggressive. I have Merrick Garland right here sicking the FBI on parents who are worried about their kids' education. It doesn't sound like they're interested in living and letting live.
Oh, no, they're not. They're absolutely not. And you're going to see, by the way, when you talk about, we know what the FBI does when he's sicking them on these different groups. They're not going to come in and say, oh, you're under investigation. They're going to go into those groups and say, hey, you guys are anti-woke. I'm anti-woke too. Let's talk. Let's make lists of people. Let's do all this stuff, and then try to get them gripped up in these entrapment operations, like we saw what happened in Michigan with the Gretchen Whitmer plot, which has now been completely exposed as an FBI-driven operation. You're probably going to see that. I called out, and I've got a lot of flack this week for saying it, but I called out one of these groups that put themselves together as the feds who were against the mandate. So an anti-vax group that came together and said, we are going to be a group of federal employees, so we're all feds, who say that we're against the mandate. Okay, sure, I get it. I'm down with you guys. I love the fight. But you've got to do it in a smart way, because you're opening yourself up for this type of encroachment, this type of infiltration in these sorts of operations, because we get one person in who says, hey, let's all download this app. Hey, let's go to Discord, et cetera, et cetera. So no, you're not going to see right now any sort of back off by the federal government. But what you could see potentially is, as you mentioned, we are already seeing the national separation take place. Texas and Florida, of course, are the archetypes of this. I think you'll probably also see similar taking place with Wyoming, Idaho, South Dakota, North Dakota. You'll see that type of people moving there. And then once those red areas become more bright red areas, they're going to elect politicians at the state level who are going to thumb their nose in the face of the federal government. You're seeing that now with Abbott. He's got a hard right challenger in his primary. So what did he do? Now he's against mandates. DeSantis, he's against mandates, right? That's a state that remember, DeSantis only won by 0.5% against, we don't need to talk about who he ran against. And his parties and his party. But the situation is, you're going to get governors out there, and these people are going to demand, right? Because these are refugees, right? These are refugees from this stuff. They're going to demand someone to come up there to protect them from the federal government. First and foremost, you're going to see that be a huge plank when it comes to state politics, and certainly for governorships.
Hey, thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me.